Hello and welcome to Political Paradigm. Let's continue the conversation on politics just where lunchtime politics left off. I'm Terry Ikumi. Now the elections, the off-season elections are just around the corner and more political parties want an opportunity to say their bit. And so that the focus is not solely on the main opposition party, People's Democratic Party, or the ruling All Progressives Congress. So today my guest is a Kogi state governorship candidate on the platform of the Action Alliance. He's a businessman turned politician who wants to be governor of Kogi State. My guest is Mr. Olayinka Braimoh. Welcome to Political Paradigm.
Thank you for having me today.
It's nice to see you. I think Kogi State seems to have quite a number of young persons who are running for office. So I think it's a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I think that's what I experience, that concerns us to experience, but that's something we'll talk about now. You've just returned from Kogi State. How's the security over there? Because we hear that over the weekend there was some form of violence.
Yes, there was some form of violence in Kogi local government between two political parties. They've been having those violence before now. It's been on. I heard a lot of people were injured and perhaps there was a loss of life. I'm not certain about that until we get a police report on that. But there were violence in Kogi local government.
So this is just between the SDP and the APC as we hear it?
Yes, they've been the ones having those crises from on site. Of course, they're coming from the same angle. SDP candidate used to be in APC, so they've been having that rivalry going on.
And it's been peaceful for you, hasn't it? Because I know that one of your interviews I saw 2 months ago, you said that you've not experienced any form of violence so far in the course of your campaigns. Is that still the same?
As of now, that's still the position. I think the first time we had a threat where we're supposed to have an event, you know, and some guys came to disrupt the event. So we peacefully left the place and then changed the date of the event. So that happened in the central. So, however, since then we've not had any case of violence.
You're from the West, right?
I'm from the West.
Have you campaigned in the central part or the eastern part of Kogi State?
Yeah, I just got back from the East.
Okay.
Yesterday, we received PDP stalwart decamping to Action Alliance in the person of Sam Omali. Yesterday, we received him at Ojuku Ward in Angpa local government. Yesterday, we received the campees in Ofu local government, Ofabo, Aluma axis, from the PDP, from the APC, and from Labour Party, from APGA. We received the campees there on Sunday. So, I mean, it's been peaceful for us so far.
Oh, great then. So, generally, in terms of how campaigns have been for you, beyond the security aspect of it, how do you assess perhaps the level of acceptance from the people of Kogi State, especially for someone as young as you?
It's been tremendous. The acceptance has been overwhelming. As a matter of fact, yes, we're talking about a new candidate, a relatively new party, you know, coming on the race, unusual situation, and it requires an unusual approach to campaign. And we've been doing that. The acceptance has been fantastic everywhere we go.
How long have you been in the Action Alliance?
At least over a year.
Over a year?
Yeah.
How have you found it, and why did you opt for the Action Alliance?
All right, I wanted the slogan of the party it kind of aligns with my vision for the state, with my assignment. It says, let the masses live. And my vision, my assignment is to be able to create wealth for the people, because people need to be able to eat to stay alive. Because the situation today in the state is such that people have to beg to eat. You know, a lot of families can't feed themselves. We're not even talking about education now. We are talking about being able to feed themselves. It's a major challenge in the state. The poverty has ravaged our state. This is over 2 decades with 4 administrations in power. the poverty level has been on the increase. So the reason for the Action Alliance is to let the masses live. It's my assignment to be able to create wealth for our people. Because when you say a state is poor, it means the aggregate population of the state are poor. And when you talk about the state being rich, it means the aggregate population are making money. The situation we have in Kogi State is that aggregate, majority of our people are poor. As in, life is extremely difficult for them. And for you as a state to come out of that position of poverty, we need to empower our people. Our people need to start making money. We must teach them how to make money and then create the enabling environment for them to make money. It means we must help our people to succeed. If they succeed, if they are making money, it means the state will make money in turn. It's simple economics. Your people can't be poor and you expect the state to make money. So we must empower our people. And that's the reason for Action Alliance. Let the masses live.
You know, when we talk about politics in Nigeria, sometimes many would argue that it's quite questionable whether it's as simple as you put it, whether the people are knowledgeable enough or as understanding enough to know how to differentiate politics from their personal needs, per se. So when I ask about why you chose the Action Alliance, the concern for many would probably be, it's not one of those popular parties. It's not even one of the popular opposition parties. We've seen elections come and go. We've seen how the Action Alliance has performed. And it will raise the question if you are very sure or confident that you could win the Kogi State governorship election on the platform of the All Action Alliance, where you have parties like the People's Democratic Party with someone like Dino Melaye, who says he has political value. You have Leke Abidjire, who's been there. You have Mr. Jibrin. Then you go to the APC, the ruling party. So let's talk about the structure of the Action Alliance and what fuels your confidence that with this party you could win the Kogi governorship election.
Maybe some 4 months ago, some 3 months ago, or you say, oh, you don't know Action Alliance, or you don't know Olayinka Braimoh, but not today. Nobody in the politics of Kogi State today will say they don't know Action Alliance or Olayinka Braimoh. Today, with what we have done so far, in terms of structures, we have our structures in the entire 239 wards and 3,508 polling units across the state. So, and the 2023 elections as well have shown to us that with beavers, with the introduction of beavers, is as much as you can mobilize, your campaign, your message to the people, getting to the electorate. That's what's important. The politicians are no more than maybe some 10%, of the population, but of course they manipulate the process. But with beavers in place now, electorate, we make them to understand the fact that when you don't go out to vote, you're yielding your power to your oppressors, to your adversaries. So we're getting people out. People are becoming more aware, more politically educated, exposed to understand the fact that you can't just fold your arms anymore and expect that miracles will happen. Because if you do not choose visionary leaders.
You think the people of Kogi State are that aware?
Our people are well educated. Our people are...
Education, I don't think education.
Now, when I'm talking about education,
people who could make wrong decisions.
We have. Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you, but they are politically aware. They understand their needs at the moment. And I understand the fact that with poverty has decimated a lot of people's mind over time. So that's why we chose the approach we're using, which is town hall meetings, town hall engagements, to be able to, because for us to be able to help get their mind right, we have to engage people. They need to have the necessary information. For instance, give them the statistics for them to understand better. With over 2 decades of Kogi State, 4 governors, over 2 decades, poverty has been on the increase. And this is due to our dependency on federal allocation. Largely because Kogi State, this year, our budget is 172 billion. 58% of our budget, recurrent expenditure, 42% capital projects. From that 42% of capital projects, 7.5% of that will still go back to the federal government as VAT. How much is left to be able to provide for development? In a state that is 29,833 square kilometers, that is bigger than Rwanda by almost the size of Lagos, bigger than the entire 5 states in the southeast: Abia, Anambra, Imo, Enugu, and Ebonyi states. Our land area is bigger, which means you require more money for infrastructure. But we have a total of 172 billion. From the budget, you already know that poverty will not leave the state if we continue to depend solely, largely on federal allocation.
We'll talk about that because that's part of your policy document, which I have received, and I would like to look deeper into that. But let's do a little more politicking now.
Okay. Yeah.
You talk about the changes that have happened with the Action Alliance in the past 4 months. Now, many may argue that 4 months may not be enough to change the tide, especially for a party like the APC that's been there for 8 years. But when you talk about winning this thing, if you look at it, does appear as though the bulk of the opposition are from the western part of Kogi. Am I correct? I know that Dino is from the west, Abejide, you. So
we're just 3.
Just 3 of you are from
the west.
And if we talk about the strength, I mean, the stronger you are, the more your name's mentioned, let's be honest. So when you have people like you from the west, there are concerns as to depletion of votes. I know I had raised this with Dino Melaya and Abejide, and they had talked about an alliance. In fact, they've had a couple of meetings. I don't think you've been part of those meetings, have you?
Not necessarily. I've been part of a couple of meetings in terms of trying to forge an alliance. And the meeting has been that, the Kogi West Elders Forum, the Okun Think Tank, and a couple of various groups. I've been invited for several meetings in this regard. And in terms of vote depletion, talking about federal constituency, today in Kogi State, we have this multi-dimensional interest. We have the ethnic interest. We have the Igala agenda. We have the Igbira system agenda. We have the Kogi West agenda. Now, having all those in there, then you have the agenda of, Christians should be a governor. Mm-hmm. We have the agenda of Muslims should retain power. And then we have, all sorts of agenda. And we neglect the largest constituency, the constituency of the poor people that are united. That's a common enemy that I think that I'm focused on. These are the people that want to take out of poverty. That commonality of poverty is across the entire state.
Regardless of ethnicity or...
hunger doesn't know tribe. Hunger doesn't care where you come from. It's painful. Pain doesn't care where you live or who you are. Pain doesn't care your tribe, about your religion.
But politics, regardless, is a game of numbers.
Yeah.
And that is why some of you, I hope you could give us some more details as to how involved you are in this. That's why some of you want to form an alliance against the APC, believing that enough is enough. So talk to us about your level of involvement in this alliance or coalition.
In terms of alliance and coalitions, I've had interactions with other candidates, and what I see as a primary goal of every other candidate is shopping for who will step down for them. That's been the primary goal. So they want to engage you on the fact that, okay, I want you to step down for me. And I've been asking one question for all of those that I've interfaced with. What is your vision for the state? Tell us one thing you want to do. Because I wouldn't support anybody that doesn't have a clear vision as to what is your planned economic policy. How do you intend to turn around the situation in the state today? And I'm sorry to say, A whole lot of these people, they're talking, but not talking about what they want to do. We're just talking politics. People are suffering. People are in poverty every day. And all we're interested in, I want to be governor. Why do you want to be a governor? And if you cannot give me an answer to that, then I shouldn't be sitting on the table negotiating with you in terms of if I should step down for you or not.
Was that what you told them at the meeting?
I asked, I've not done with all candidates together, but I've done one-on-one.
Wait, just a second. So you haven't attended any of these meetings?
No.
Have you been invited to the meetings?
I've been invited.
And you declined because?
I did not decline. I was not available.
Or you were unavailable, but
Yes.
did you communicate that to them?
Yeah, with the facilitator.
The last meeting that held last week, you were not there?
That particular meeting last week, I wasn't aware of that.
Well, you were not aware,
I
so
wasn't
clearly
aware
you were not invited for that one.
That one, I wasn't aware.
Well,
but the one I was aware of, it clashed with my schedule.
Yeah, I mean,
very
if they didn't invite you for the last meeting because they put out the statement, clearly they all want to work together. And they say opposition parties need to work together. So you were not invited. But are you open to an alliance if it involves you stepping down for someone?
Absolutely no.
Absolutely no.
Absolutely no.
Why
if
is
I
that
have to
so?
step down. But I am on an assignment. I am on an assignment for wealth creation and wealth distribution. I'll be clear with that. And it's not for me to submit that assignment of wealth creation to any other candidate that cannot clearly express himself or tell the people what exactly is the vision. What do you want to do for the people? Do you just want to become a governor for the sake of being a governor? And then I'm governor. And then what next? What happens to our people? We are talking about over 2 decades of pains and struggles of our people. Over 2 decades. Over 2 decades is enough time to be able to establish trends. I mean, we look at the trend.
Well, how do you establish this trend or change just close to election? It's been years. What moves have been put in place to sort of prepare the minds of people to correct some of these concerns that you have beyond waiting for elections?
Well, you see, you need executive power to do some certain things in the state, not even legislative powers. Because what is lacking is visionary leadership. So to be able to put that in place, you need executive power. Without executive power, you will not be able to effect such changes. I mean, we have a whole lot of people, a whole lot of groups in the state, they will shout. I mean, you will send in proposals and all of that as to how you can effect change. But the number one man that has the executive power must be able to understand that. With visionary leadership, you'll become receptive to new ideas as to how to effect change in a society.
This has affected the voting pattern in the state over the years, hasn't it? Because of the mindset.
In terms of the voting patterns, you could see in the last election, I mean, we have average of about 28% of registered voters that came out to vote. In some local governments, 21.4%. In some local governments, 24%. I think the highest we had was about 28% of registered voters. Why? Because the people are tired. They're fed up. They're frustrated because they feel helpless. So I'd rather not participate in the process because there's not been changes in our lives, in the economy. So why do I need to go out there to vote? These are the challenges of our people. And that's why the participation have been low over the years. The last election, 2019 election, for instance, in the Central Senatorial District, from 3 local governments, the APC had about 212,000 votes. This year, 2023, the entire Central, 5 local governments, had less than 110,000 votes. Because the Central they have 5 local governments. So you can see the difference. Even though I know it's because of the introduction of the beavers, so that has been able to reduce the electoral malpractices significantly.
You know, when your political opponents talk about experience and what they bring to the table, they talk about their contributions to their constituencies and their senatorial districts based on how long they have been in office before now. You are new to politics. So before we talk about perhaps what your business experience would do for Kogi State, let's talk about your political history. Take us through every political process you've had to go through to prepare you for this day. Perhaps political mentorship or leadership mentorship when you decided to join politics and why and all that.
First of all, what is governance? When you talk about having experiences, in what field? Being legislators? Is that the experience? That is not the same as an executive experience. That is one. 2, when you're talking about governance, I see it as a business venture. You need to look at the state as a business venture. You need to treat it as such because you are managing it for the people. So I will look at it from that perspective in the case of what should be the goal, the primary goal of government is to make the people happy. So when you talk about if they are secured, they will be happy. If there's financial freedom, they will be happy. Food security, financial security, these are things that will make the people happy. So when you're talking about experience, are we talking about relevant experience? And we're talking about what you've done for the constituents, what they have done compared to the number of years and the opportunities that they've had while in office. Are they commensurate? For me, I'm an entrepreneur. I think business. I think entrepreneurship. That is making money. So like when I say wealth creation as a goal, it means set objectives will be make money, save money, and then grow the economy. That is the level of activities of government will be geared towards those set objectives. These are things that will guide us, our actions and our inactions. Every activity, will it help us to make money? Will it save us money? And what will be the effect on the economy? Will it help us to grow our economy? That is what I consider as relevant experience, because you must be able to make decisions that will help the government to survive economic downturns. Make decisions that will help the government to make money, to be able to help the people.
I agree with you on one aspect. On the other aspect, the truth is, I've spoken with a number of technocrats who have tried to venture into politics. A number of them have pulled out after their first try because they've come to realize that politics is not just, not just about how intelligent you are, what you have to offer. You must win.
Yeah.
And the process of winning.
And I'm in need to win.
The process of winning doesn't come easy. That's why I'm concerned about your political history. What exactly has prepared you for this moment beyond either politically or for this leadership role that you talk about? Beyond, yes, your business experience.
Politically, I've not been in politics, even though I grew up in the political family. My father was actively in politics. Actively in politics. So I understand the whole of political process and political strategies, even though I've not been actively involved in it. But I've been involved in some humanitarian services in the state over the years. School fees, support for indigent students. I've been doing this since 2015. And flood victims to help them out. and a couple of other supports that we provide, especially for the younger generation, for the students across the state, and even beyond. That's what I've been doing before now. So it's not just about the fact that, oh, we do things because we want votes, or we do things for people because we want their votes. Now, things you're supposed to do for them by virtue of your political position, and you fail to do, you take a 10% or 20% of what should be rightfully for the people, then you dangle, at them. That is exploiting the poverty in the land. That is the fundamental problem that we have at the moment. In terms of the politics of it, politics is about numbers.
Absolutely.
About being able to persuade people. That is politics. And for the numbers, in terms of persuasion, I think we are on that. And we are confident there's no engagement that we've had in the state that is not coming out in our favor.
So are you confident that your persuasion could win over vote buying?
Yes.
If that's a tool by the other political parties.
They will want to buy votes. We'll meet right there at the polling unit.
Why do you want to be governor of Kogi State? You seem to be doing well. You have a good business, good businesses to be specific, and then you have some mentorship programs. I believe you do scholarship programs as well. You seem to be doing well already by yourself. What is it about being a governor that fascinates you or motivates you to want to take up that responsibility?
I'll tell you, for me, this is an assignment. This, for me, it's a burden. The burden of our people living in abject poverty. The burden of our people right in the midst of plenty, yet poor. Like some will say, and people have been saying, oh, we have minerals everywhere. Oh, we are rich in minerals, but poor in reality. So it's this burden that's brought about this assignment for me. The primary reason for wanting to be governor is to be able to create wealth for our people, take our people out of poverty. That's the reason why I'm running. Nothing more than that.
Do you live in Kogi State?
I don't live in Kogi State.
Where do you live?
I live in Abuja.
How familiar are you with Kogi State? How often do you go to Kogi State?
In terms of my traffic to Kogi State, I go prior to now.
Prior to now?
Prior to now, I mean, like usually festive seasons.
I think that's enough for the people to be familiar with you.
In terms of being familiar with me, I think today, I don't think there's any part from where I come from that they don't know me. Yeah. And in terms of having that interface and connection.
So, a constituency or a village is a small unit compared to the entire state. But then it raises a question. How familiar are you with the needs of the Kogi people, cutting across the different ethnic groups in that state?
I can tell you that. I've been to every nook and cranny of the state. And I can tell you, the primary problem is poverty. Simply put, any vision or any manifesto that will not help us create wealth today is not what is needed in the state. Like I said, over 2 decades, I've proven some certain points. One, that where you come from is not what will determine whether the state will succeed or not. Your religion is not what will determine whether the state will succeed or not. It has to do with your vision. It has to do with visionary leadership. I'll run some numbers for you. Kogi State. Prince Abubakar was governor. And today we ask so many people in terms of projects. A lot of people, 9 over 10 will tell you, Prince Abubakar is number 1 in terms of projects so far. In terms of welfareism, then the civil servant didn't give him a second term in office because of some certain salary obligations that he wouldn't meet. In terms of welfareism, former Governor Ibrahim Idris, he paid salaries all through, no loans at all. And he went ahead. In fact, he took overdrafts twice during his 9 years of being governor.
Yeah.
Those overdrafts were meant to pay, he used them to pay salaries before Salah and then before Christmas, when federal allocation was yet to be disbursed then. Welfareism, he was number one. We had Governor Wada, and then we have Governor Yaya Bello. Today, looking at those four governors, you see that Abubakar did a lot of projects, not enough money to fulfill salary obligations. Governor Ibrahim Idris paid salaries all through. Civil servants, they were all happy. Okay, but not enough projects. We couldn't do so many projects because of insufficient funds. Then Governor Wada was there for a single term, tried to do projects, tried to do salaries, and currently we have Governor Yaya Bello. Salary obligations is a problem in the state. So, and I'll analyze that for you from the budget. When someone presents to you that I have 172 billion to spend in the year for about 4.4 million people on 29,833 square kilometers, it's already clear that nothing significant will happen in the course of the year. So what we see is our dependency on federal allocation is the primary problem of the state. We don't have enough money to run government. So what do? We need to drive in cash flow into the economy. How do we drive in cash flow? We must have products or services that we're exchanging for cash to come into our economy. That is the vision. That is what we intend to do. Because our people, we must help our people to create products that we're taking out of the state for money to come into the state economy. We must have services we are offering for money to come into our economy in exchange for money.
You know, now that you speak like this, I'd like to, it almost suggests that there's been no progress over the years in Kogi State. There's not been a good balance between providing infrastructure, developing the state, and making the people happy with regards to how much money you put in their pockets. So I'll ask you this question. In the past 8 years of the Yaya Bello administration, which you're trying to take over from now, can you assess some of the lapses of his administration, which you believe you will correct if you become governor?
I'll tell you, last year, our IGR as a whole state was 18 billion naira. Projected IGR this year is 24 billion for the entire Kogi state. You know, and for me, it's the same thing across all the past governors, not focusing on wealth creation. I think that's a major error of all these administrations. Because if you ask them questions, why are you not doing this? Why is that not done? The answer is the government don't have enough money to fund the infrastructure. I was in Basa last week, thereabout. We have a wooden bridge. Bridges that vehicles are driving on. There's no 500-meter straight road that is, I mean, like good 500 meters straight that you would drive on a 500-meter road that is good. None. I was in Ojoku Ward yesterday in Ankpa. I mean, the road from Ankpa to that place is terrible. I was in my own village, my own ward. We were there just to get to go through a hill with all the vehicles there. We were there for 3 hours. One car would go at a time. Then a lot of people would join hands together to push the car because of bad, terrible. I don't even consider that as a road. I just consider it as a path for vehicles to drive through to get to our communities. Now, so when pointing out the challenges and the errors of this administration will be that the failure of the administration to focus on wealth creation.
What's your idea of wealth creation, especially with regard to Kogi? What do you specifically want to do with wealth creation? Because you've pointed out that revenue generation is a problem. And that, as you've seen, that's affected road infrastructure in the state. It's also affected development generally in the state. So when you talk about wealth creation from the business point of view, businessman that you are, what exactly do you want to do to create wealth in Kogi State and for Kogi State?
That's why I designed what I call the SDAT, the START agenda, which is the Kogi agenda, not Igala agenda, not Igbira agenda, not Kogi West agenda. That is representing the agenda of poverty to prosperity. SDAT, solid minerals, tourism, agriculture, and trade as a means of driving in cash flow into our economy. For instance, solid minerals. It doesn't belong to the state. It belongs to the federal government. But you must understand, and I do understand, prospecting, licensing, exploration, and exploitation, and understanding the legal framework for strategic partnership to be able to go into commercial mining activities in order to be able to create products that we're going to take out of the state for monies to come into the state. That's getting money through solid minerals. And we have to strategically and deliberately empower our people for this sector. 2, tourism. It is the commercial organization and operation of holidays and visits to places of interest. And we have several of those, from the confluence to Agbaja Plateau. Agbaja Plateau is always cold throughout the year. It's about 1,500 feet above sea level, which is about the same height with Mount Patti. We have Usikoko Cave in Kotukarafi. We have Omi Dam. Omi Dam is in Jagwa West local government. Amazing view for 4 benefits majorly. 1, for water distribution. 2, for power generation. 3, for tourism. 4, for irrigation. Just benefits you can derive from Omi Dam. We have Oraha in Moba. We have Obangogo in Kaba. And there's the spring water in Obangogo. We have Ikwawu Cave in Ogidi. We have several other locations and monuments in the central, and several other locations across Ogorimagongo, Okene. We have the Earthen Bridge in Olamaboro, and 2 other waterfalls in the east right there. All of these things are places of interest that we are going to develop to drive in traffic into our state. Now, so we are projecting that we'll be able to get about 2 million visitors in the next 3 to 4 years. When you have 2 million visitors visiting our state annually, if they spend 100,000 naira in our state, that means we've been able to attract about 200 billion naira into our economy in a fiscal year. Now, if they stay average of 5 nights in our state, implication is we would have sold 10 million nights of hotels and shortlets in our state, because tourism drives the value of real estate significantly. So selling 10 million nights of hotels and shortlets at an average of 100,000 naira will mean that we've been able to attract about 1 trillion naira into our economy. We're talking about wealth creation. Who are the people that will make this money? Our people. 1 trillion naira on hotel sales minus the taxes you make on the value chain. When you put that together, most part of the world, hotel sales tax is about 20%. 20% of 1 trillion will be 200 billion naira. IGR for the government. You see, if the people are making money, the government will make money. If you're getting IGR of 200 billion, we're talking about 3 to 4 years just on tourism, developing our tourism sector. While we're at the moment, 18 billion for last year, 24 billion for this year projected. We don't have business with poverty. This is wealth creation. The third one is agriculture. We intend to introduce regenerative agriculture in changing the paradigm of how we farm. 1 hectare per household, and we intend to train 100,000 house farmers over the period of 3 years, issuing them C of O 1 hectare per farmer in farm estates. When you give C of O, what are you doing? You are creating instrument for funding, because you cannot run agricultural policy in isolation without having an efficient land administration policy in place. And that's why I say development does not occur by chance or happenstance. Development occurs by deliberate, intentional, and coordinated actions of a visionary leader. That's what brings about development. It's not just their wishing. On agriculture, perhaps you're wondering, are we not going to have a glut in the market? Currently, Kogi State, we're not producing what we're eating, what we're consuming in terms of food. At an average of 500 naira per person per day, it means our current value on food will be about 2.2 billion naira daily and about 66 billion naira monthly. When we focus on food sufficiency, it means we're able to keep about 66 billion naira running within our economy. Our people are poor because we don't have enough money in circulation. So this will help us to increase the money in circulation. But we take it further. We are bounded by 10 states. We have a combined population of about 56 million people. Just targeting to feed 15 million out of these 56 million with food from Kogi State. At 500 naira per day per person, which means about 7.5 billion naira on a daily basis, money in circulation in our economy on food alone. It means every 100 days, you are talking about a 750 billion naira in circulation in our economy and about $1 billion. That's about $1 billion. Who are those that will make this money? You see the wealth creation there? The farmers will make money, right? Traders will make money. Logistics will make money. Storage will make money. Processing, packaging, all of this value chain will make money. When they make money, what do they spend their disposable incomes on? They will build houses, they will buy cars, they will send their kids to school, they will sew clothes. Imagine 1 million people ordering for 5 kaftans annually because they are making money. A kaftan is sold at 6,000 naira in Kogi State.
That's cheap.
That's very cheap. Abuja has about 15,000, 20,000. At 6,000 naira, just think about it. Multiply by 5 million kaftans in a year, that will be about 30 billion naira money that our tailors will be making. So in development economics, what do? You create cash supply first. Then you train people to provide the services. Now that comes vocational education. Now when the tailor makes money, what does the tailor do with the money? The tailor will eat. So the money goes back again to the farmer, to the traders, to store. So you see, this is how we intend to take our people out of poverty. The last one is trade. We are the gateway between the north and the south. Southerners pass through our states to go to the north to get food from Zamfara. As a matter of fact, Kogi, we get soya beans from Zamfara. Pass through our states to go to the north. Zamfara, Kebbi, Sokoto, Kano, Katsina, for food. Northerners pass through our state to go to Aba, go to Nisha, go to Lagos. So what we intend to do is to turn Kogi to a trade center, a trade hub. Everything you can get from the north will make them available in Kogi. Everything you can get from the south will make them available in Kogi. Cutting short their trips. With subsidy, transportation cost is higher. Yes, so what we do is this, we create this trade center, so everybody is coming to buy and to sell in Kogi State by virtue of our geographical location, which is a great advantage that we intend to explore.
It's also a disadvantage. I don't know if you've taken into consideration the flooding. I mean, last year alone, 9 local government areas were affected, almost submerged. In 2012, you had over 620,000 people displaced. Flooding is a big concern in Kogi State. Have you taken that into consideration?
That's the solution.
Plans? What's the solution?
That's the solution. First, I mean, we've been talking about the dredging of the Niger. You go to Newer, you see the federal government will tell you they don't have money to do it. So what we intend to do is to go into a BOT arrangement with the federal government, build, operate, and transfer. We have to be strategic, forward-thinking, visionary in nature. So what we do is this. You create an SPV, part equity, part debt. Run a build, operate, and transfer. Depending on the feasibility report and the viability report, that will determine the number of years, maybe 20, 30 years, or 50 years, for that River Niger to be dredged. Waiting for federal government to do this will not happen. It has not happened ever since. You know, they'll keep putting money in it for budget, in the budget every year. the monies will not be enough to even mobilize the contractors to site. So we must take this over to the private sector. You know, get investors. So it will be an SPV. We want to create an SPV, a special purpose vehicle for this. And then use that to drive that business. It's a huge business opportunity.
Why would the private sector be interested in Kogi State?
Do you know the volume of goods that move across to the north on a daily basis? I'll give you an example. During the NSAS crisis, just in a couple of days of not having traffic of food, of goods across to Lagos, prices of tomatoes went up. Prices of onions went up. Food items went up, practically in Lagos. Decades back, when there were issues on getting with the herders, and the herders said, okay, we're not taking our cows to the west. In just a couple of days, you'll be out of the stock. That is the reality. So you can imagine being able to reduce the traffic of trailers on the road and moving those goods down to Lokoja, Riverport. Why won't you be interested in that? It's a fantastic business opportunity. It's a huge opportunity.
But government commitment is most important in this case. And it doesn't appear as though the government has been as committed. Perhaps that's why.
Are you talking about federal government or the state government?
State government specifically.
And that's what I'm telling you about visionary leadership that we're offering. And I'm telling you the solution to this. We have to drive the investment. If you don't have a solution to something, you can't drive it. Your solution to it, your vision for it, will give you the necessary energy to drive for it to be result-oriented. Federal government will not do it because federal government is owing 87 trillion currently. About 96% of our revenue last year was spent on debt servicing. So we don't need to, we just need to leave federal government alone and be able to look at our state, taking advantage of our geographical configuration. That is a huge advantage for us. We'll take advantage of that. We can do direct earnings, forex earnings from Kogi State. A lot of cash crops. We are the largest producer of cashew nut. A lot of cash crops in our state. Sesame seed is a big one. Our yield in Nigeria is 0.78 metric tons per hectare. The yield in Sudan, that is the largest exporter of sesame seed in the world, is 0.29 tons per hectare. We have 29,833 square kilometers. Massive arable land that is not being used. We intend to just convert this land assets to wealth for our people. It's not complex. It's not complicated. It's just visionary leadership that is required, and that's what I'm offering.
Mr. Braimoh, I'd like to know what this visionary leadership that you're offering would do for the people of Kogi State with regards to education. I say this because you attended primary, secondary
in Kogi State.
Yeah. And as it stands now, Kogi State is one of those states that has dwindled in education. Although it says that among the northern states, it's perhaps up there, but it doesn't tell well when compared to the other states. So talk to us about what it was like schooling in Kogi State then and what you know about it now.
Then my primary school was in Kaba, Kajola Nigerian Primary School. Of course, we walked down, what I would call it trek, or we walk, whichever way, down to school. And it was interesting. A lot of people cheerful, happy. We didn't have situations whereby families didn't have opportunity of going to primary school. Then, the level of education was good. My secondary school, Titcomb College, one of the best. Then, every child that knew about Titcomb College, you want to be there. My number was 6278, Titcomb College, and I learned a lot because I stayed in the boarding school in Titcomb College then, but today there's no more boarding school. In fact, at some point, old students had to start contributing money to help pay teachers' salaries because most of the teachers started going to farm because they couldn't survive. now, today, a lot of them are not being paid. They're collecting ration salaries. So, but they have to survive. So if I have a job and I'm collecting ration salary, the salary in itself is not even enough. And we're talking about primary education.
But beyond the salaries, talk about the infrastructure and the quality of education.
I'll tell you about that. We have about 2,052 public primary schools across the state and 865 public secondary schools across the state. And ratio from our survey of teacher to student in some schools, like in Yagba West, we have about 1 to 40, 1 to 45. That's what's prevalent in Yagba West axis. In some of the axes of the state, we have 1 to 50, and as much as 1 to 55 ratio of teacher to student. Now, there's no way you're going to have quality education. Our focus is the SDG 4, the Sustainable Development Goal 4, inclusive, qualitative, and free education for the first 12 years of education. We intend to achieve this goal in 3 years. So in terms of quality education, the foundation is important, isn't it? When you talk about the primary education, it's primary because the word primary in itself means it's important. When you say primary, secondary, tertiary, in simple English, primary means the most important, the primary goal, education. But right now, that primary education is destroyed completely. Because when you're talking about quality education, it means you must have quality personnel. So in terms of the education infrastructure for classrooms, we have a lot of dilapidated classrooms across the state for those that even have schools. And we have to do interventions in this area to help renovation here and there, have to do new constructions here and there. But these things are not sustainable. The sustainable part of it is for us to ensure that the state makes good money to be able to invest in education, both in terms of the infrastructure and in terms of personnel. Because those two must come together. If you have the infrastructure and don't have quality personnel, it's a problem. If you have quality personnel and you don't have the infrastructure to support that, it'll be a problem. There must be this balance.
Absolutely. So as we round off this conversation, I'd like us to talk about the electoral umpire now. Perhaps talk to us about the level of confidence or otherwise that you have in the electoral umpire going into this election, and also taking a cue from what happened in the general elections, which held in your state specifically, and try to understand perhaps what you expect the umpire to do in the forthcoming governorship election.
I expect INEC to remain as an umpire, unbiased. You know, from the last election, that is 2023 elections, what we've seen so far is, of course, the tribunals upturning a couple of results here and there because of the fact that some areas, processes and guidelines were not followed. So we hope that INEC will take lessons from that to ensure that everything, I don't expect so much pressure on them because right now we have just 3 states having this off-cycle election. So I believe they will have enough personnel, enough personnel resources to deploy for this election to ensure that it's free, it's fair, it's credible. The credibility is important.
Okay. I've spoken with a number of candidates like yourself who are worried about the security situation in the state ahead of the election. Some believe that the ruling party may be attempting to perpetrate some form of violence to scare some persons on that day. Are you worried?
If they create violence, right, it will affect them also. Because without people being accredited, they cannot be voting. Without accreditation, you cannot have the results. So if you want to create violence, it means it will affect you as well.
So that means you're not worried about it?
I'm not.
Or you're hopeful?
I'm not worried about it. Because I think they'll be smart enough to understand the fact that if you create violence, you'll be affected as well. Your own people that are supporting you too will not be able to come out to vote. So because you can't do virtual accreditation, you have to be there live. So if you create the violence, you'll be affected as well. Because there's no monopoly of violence.
Mr. Olayinka Braimoh, thank you very much for coming on Political Paradigm.
Thank you for having me.
It's just elections just around the corner.
We have 40 days to
40 days.
Our celebration of victory today.
I wish you well.
Thank you very much.
I wish you very well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I've been speaking with Mr. Olayinka Braimoh. He is the Action Alliance governorship candidate in the forthcoming Kogi election, scheduled to hold on the 11th of November. I'd like to thank you very much for your time on Political Paradigm and remind you you can catch this episode and others by simply searching YouTube, Political Paradigm, or go to channelstv.com. I'm Terry Ikumi. Goodbye.